Test, 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 test. Test, test, test.
Good evening and welcome to the Monday, April 6, 2026 meeting of the Arlington County Planning Commission. I am Commissioner Nia Bagley, Chair. Please make note that our recess meeting tomorrow, Tuesday, April 7, will begin at 7:30. Tonight, we will hear and discuss the following items: fiscal year 27 changes to DCP HD development-related fees, and items associated with the Walgreens site for redevelopment at 3130 Langston Boulevard. A few pointers before we get started. For participants, presenters, and speakers joining the meeting through Microsoft Teams, please keep your phones and other electronic devices muted until you are called upon by the clerk. Please turn off the sound to any devices around you to minimize interference, and keep your cameras off until the clerk announces your name to speak. When called upon, you must unmute yourself by clicking on the microphone icon that is in the meeting command bar at the top of the screen. Neither the moderator nor the clerk have the ability to unmute your mic. Once you have spoken, please mute your mics and turn your cameras off. If you are dialing in by phone to join the meeting, please press *6 to unmute. Public speakers will be called upon by the clerk at an assigned time. Pre-registration with email confirmation is required to speak at tonight's hearing. We are not able to accommodate additional speakers. All speakers, virtually and hybrid, will receive 2 minutes to comment as an individual. Only representatives of a county board appointed advisory group committee and/or a commission will receive 3 minutes to comment. A timer will be displayed on the screen if speaking virtually, and speakers in person will follow the timer stationed at the podium. Audio of tonight's meeting is available by phone. If commissioners, presenters, or speakers lose internet connectivity, please reconnect by phone. However, if you are dialing in by phone and unable to see the screen, we will provide an audible 30-second warning to wrap up your comments. You will be muted when your time has expired. The meeting chat is active for presenters or commissioners who need technical assistance only. Please do not use the meeting chat for discussion, public comment, questions about agenda items, or requests for further information. All public comments must be shared verbally for the record during the assigned public testimony period. Tonight's meeting will be available for review through the YouTube platform. A link has been provided on the Planning Commission website 24 to 48 hours after the adjournment of the meeting. Although the meetings will no longer be a live broadcast, the meetings will be available for review with closed captioning on Comcast Xfinity channels 25 and 1073 and Verizon Fios channels 39 and 40, 24 to 48 hours after the adjournment of the meeting. Lastly, this is a public forum. Tonight's meeting will be recorded and posted to the county website via a link to YouTube as stated. All information associated with tonight's meeting, whether written or spoken, is subject to the Virginia Freedom of Information Act requirements. Madam Clerk, please call the first agenda item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our first item is the fiscal year FY 2027 changes to the Department of Community Planning, Housing, and Development's related fees for planning, zoning, and inspection services effective July the 1st. We have our planning staff, Mr. Jim Baker, to present this item to us.
Good evening, members of the Planning Commission. I'm Jim Baker. I am the newly appointed Budget and Finance Manager for Community Planning, Housing, and Development. I'm here this evening, as Giselle said, to speak on the fee changes and proposed changes for the FY27 proposed budget. Joining me here is Alexis, our budget analyst for the department, and then several staff who are online on Teams to also answer any questions near the end of the presentation. There we go. All right, just some background in relation to how we got to where we are now. In 2025, of course, many of you are familiar. We did the fee study, well, concluded in 2025 with a consulting firm to assess, our process and review our fee structure and the way that we charge fees. It included both CPHD and DES as part of that study. And we concluded it in January 2024 with the implementation starting in 2025 and into 2026 as a multi-year process. So tonight we'll detail the FY27 proposed fees for planning, zoning, and the subset of DES, as well as we'll go over some project examples so that you can get some real world examples there as we look at the fee changes. So just a little bit more of a visual on our journey. Again, we completed the fee study in January of 2024. 2025, we're kind of calling the foundation because it was our first year of the implementation process. And then in 2026, we went to the full scale adjustments that were planned and fully implemented our target cost recovery of 100% for all of our fees. 2027, we're looking to continue that trend and stabilize, where we are on the cost recovery scale. So looking at the proposed revenue changes for 2027 for planning fees specifically, sorry. We're coming in at 2.8 million on the planning side. You'll see that the overall budget impact is actually a reduction of approximately $23,000. Although we are looking to maintain that cost recovery in the aggregate, that's how we see the negative amount, which is due to just the overall activity that we have planned during that course of 2027. So the fees will go up, but due to the activity, it's offset by a slight reduction, and therefore we get the negative effect. Also on the board's agenda for consideration is the local historic district designation fee. This is a new fee that is being proposed. It's again based on our cost recovery principles that came from the fee study. It's based on costs associated with this activity, and the calculation for the $500 estimate is related to costs that were associated in the previous 12 months. So the staff looked at what it costs us per request and what that cost recovery would look like. And that's how we came to the amount of $250 per with a max of 1,000. Looking at the proposed sample projects to give you a little bit of context, on the left you'll see what the 2026 fees would have generated, and on 2027 you can see what the proposed fees will generate. Looking at the customer impact column on the right, for a semi-detached dwelling, for example, the 185% increase, although looks high, it's part of that process again of us getting to the cost recovery, the 100% cost recovery that we're seeking out. So although the base fee is changing, the type of project that's here will see an increase. Just some more examples on a different scale with covering the residential, commercial, and adaptive reuse, and then also a special glove study. These fees were all adjusted on the 3%, what we're calling an inflation indicator, and then the glove study meets the principle that we had of not not increasing a fee at more than 200% in order to achieve that cost recovery. Here you can see the staff recommendation. This is part of the board report that will go for consideration to the board near the end of the month. Just giving you a chance to see what that wording is for the staff recommendation. And then lastly, I just wanted to remind folks of the public engagement piece that's been ongoing. We held work sessions, both DES and CPHD. The NIOP meeting will be Wednesday, April 8th. Board will go through their final decision and markup on April 16th. And then we will adopt a budget as a county on April 21st. Any questions at this time?
Thank you, Mr. Baker. That's loud. I know we have no applicant this evening, but do we have any public speakers?
We do have one speaker, Mr. John Musso.
Great, thank you.
Good evening, members of the Planning Commission. Good evening, members of the Planning Commission. John Musso, Government Affairs Manager at the Arlington Chamber of Commerce. On behalf of the Chamber, I just want to articulate that we recommend that the Planning Commission does not recommend the fee increases that are proposed here. Specifically, we expressed some strong concerns with the Adaptive Reuse Amendment fee increase and the General Land Use Plan study fee increase. Doubling the cost of the GLUP study fee after Haviland tripled it last year, we believe would have a substantial impact on the development of Arlington going forward. We are aware of the economic realities that are impacting so much of planning and development in this county today, and we feel that having such a stark increase over the course of just 2 years could have a potentially negative impact on attracting developers and projects to Arlington. Additionally, we also feel that the increase in the adaptive reuse amendments would potentially lead to lesser interest and engagement in bringing those projects online at a time when county policy has really been to encourage those going forward. So we do very much thank staff for their hard work on the budget. We commend the commissions, the county board, and so forth for their hard work on that. But we believe that adjusting these fee increases to be more, at a minimum, more reasonable increases is in the best interest of Arlington's economy going forward. So we do strongly urge you to either not recommend these increases, or at a minimum, please consider not including the adaptive reuse fee and GLUP study fee increases. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to guess there's no commissions for this. No. In that case, I am going to open it up to our commission discussion. Anyone have any clarifying questions? Commissioner Strainer.
Okay, so I remember discussing these last year, and I'm a little curious as to why the vast majority of these are moving with inflation and normal, increases that you have over time, and why some in particular here are just jumping in such dramatic ways. The special GLUP pieces, one mentioned by the chamber, as well as adaptive reuse, but Columbia Pike in the form-based code is another one that sees a very dramatic increase. And I'm just curious, like, what is driving these particular increases rather than these sort of relatively modest increases we're seeing in other places here in the code?
I may lean on Anthony here to provide some context, but when we initially started the process, in 2025 into 2026, one of the initial decisions was that we were going to slowly implement in order to minimize some of the customer burden. And then during 2026, it was decided that we would just move forward with the full 100% cost recovery. And when we made that decision, certain fees that were held back previously that were only reaching the 75% cost recovery threshold were then adjusted for that. So that's why you see the varying percentages and the varying increases across the different fees.
Okay, and then what's the sort of delta between revenue that we're getting with these increases and like what we were getting in 26? Because I know the total is sort of 2.8 million, but I'm curious what the sort of difference is between 27 and 26 with these fees. Like, are we really putting all this burden potentially on developers for a marginal increase in the budget? That's kind of the thrust of the question.
So overall throughout the department, or are you
Yeah.
speaking specifically just for the planning piece?
Relative to the 2.8. So like, what are we coming up from to get
Well,
to 2.8?
overall on the planning side, we'll see that slight decrease due to activity. But if there are, projects that show up in the pipeline during the course of that, we may be able to make up that gap, right? Like sometimes there are projects that we just don't know about before we start the fiscal year. And again, this is a framework, and we would hope that eventually we would make up that difference throughout the year based on different projects, site plans, what have you, that just aren't in our foresight right now.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I'm kind of getting at more like the projected revenue. Like what did we take in last year is relative to what we're
I do not have for you
Okay.
right at this moment, but I would
Okay.
be more than happy to follow. So thank you for your question. I would
Okay.
be more than happy to follow up with the commission on that.
Perfect, yeah.
And I can also include where we kind of are right now, because we've just finished our third quarter. And so we have a pretty good outlook on where we can end up with the rest of the year, but I would be happy to provide that information and follow up.
Great. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. That's all I got.
Commissioner Peterson?
Thank you. So first, I want to say, in general, I'm very supportive of cost recovery and having that aligned to what our fees are. I do have an interest in when there, and I made this point last year, when there is a fee that is related to one of our county priorities, is there an interest to not be seeking cost recovery? And an example is the adaptive reuse. Commercial vacancy rate in Arlington has been problematic for years. We are, because of this great new policy that the community put together, we have been seeing a lot of the conversions from commercial to residential. We are really excited about that. In talking to some of my planning commission colleagues from other parts of the region, they haven't seen as much uptick in the conversion as Arlington has. So I think that means our policy is working the way we want it to. So I'm just interested in how an increase in fees could potentially negatively impact, the interest in converting. My memory from when we as a commission discussed this policy about a year and a half ago was that there was only a handful of buildings that were even interested in or possible that we could convert. So does it make sense to increase the fees for this if it's for a small number of buildings? And we really just want to get this work done. Have we looked at the fees, what percentage of the overall project is, so that we know or we feel comfortable about whether this would be a deterrent for someone to actually pursue a conversion?
Alexis is gonna fill in some gaps here, but I can tell you it certainly is discussed, because we don't want to negatively impact anyone with just abruptly increasing a fee, right? And a good example of that would be the childcare centers, right?
That was my next point.
We would certainly want to take that into consideration and understand that that's a high need area and priority amongst all of county leadership and the board, and so we wouldn't want to negatively impact that development through just an arbitrary fee increase.
I do see Anthony Fusarelli is on. I do want to say one thing, Alexis Guillo, budget analyst for CPHD. Part of the FY26 budget proposal, which was last year, we came to the Planning Commission and discussed our fee proposals. It was the CPHD's recommendation to fully recover costs on the adaptive reuse. So right now, the methodology CPHD and the county manager is using is we are increasing fees to reach 100% cost recovery, not to exceed 200% over the current fee amount. And we've been doing that over the last 2 years, as Jim mentioned. The year and two prior to that was a different methodology. while we presented full cost recovery to adaptive reuse and childcare and all of those fees as part of the FY26 budget, the county board made the decision to leave adaptive reuse along with the childcare fees flat. So it is CPHD's recommendation again with the methodology of recovering 100% cost recovery on the work that CPHD staff is doing on this type of work. We are presenting 100% cost recovery. The manager is on board with that. And if the board suggests again that this again is a priority for the county and is concerned about it being a deterrent, I would assume has the opportunity to approach it in the same way as it did last fiscal year.
Okay.
But it is CPHD's goal to receive 100% cost recovery of the work that is being done.
Okay, great. Yeah, just these projects have the potential to move really fast. And I think the revenue impact from the taxes of a productive building could definitely outweigh the costs of the fees. So if the board does decide again to waive the fees for these particular projects, I think that would make a lot of sense. Daycares was the other item on my agenda. Daycares have been for many years a priority for the county. There are shortages across the county. The fees that are suggested have very low impact to our county's revenues, but a very, very big impact to a small business that just wants to help take care of our family's children. And so again, I would say, I said last year, I don't like the fees for daycares, and I'll say it again for this year. I think that we shouldn't be charging fees for small businesses that are just trying to take care of our children and provide a service to the community. Thank you.
Understood. Just a point of clarification, the board did not waive fees for adaptive reuse. They just didn't increase them to the 100% cost recovery up to 200% increase. There were still fees for adaptive reuse projects. They just didn't do the jumps that you see those specific fees doing. Mm-hmm. And just to follow up on that, the reason why certain fees are jumping now while others are not is because those other fees have reached 100% cost recovery, and the ones that are increasing these large amounts have not yet. And so the goal is to, again, 100% cost recovery, not to exceed a 200% increase. So as long as the fee increase this year, last year, next year doesn't exceed the 200%, they will continue to increase to reach the 100% cost recovery. The good news is, as you noticed, a lot of those fees are only getting the inflationary increase because they have reached the 100% cost recovery. There's just a couple of fees that are lagging behind. And if I'm not mistaken, Anthony, correct me if I'm wrong, we did not increase daycare fees to the 100% cost recovery for FY27. I'm looking through the notes now.
Yeah, Alexis, thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair and Planning Commissioners. Anthony Fusarelli with the Planning Division for the record. Alexis, I can follow up on that question. I think one point I would note as well in the Commissioner Peterson in regard to your question about childcare is that within the past year, the board did approve zoning ordinance amendments to no longer require use permits for family daycare home uses and providers. And so that, in our view, has been a positive step forward in terms of limiting additional fees where we have other vehicles and avenues to ensure proper, certification and management of those uses. If I could as well go back to, I think, the previous question on adaptive reuse, also noting there that even with, and I think Alexis hit upon this as well, even with the 200% increase in that fee proposed for this year, the fiscal 26 fee level relative to cost recovery, as was said, is such a low amount that we believe recommending the increase that's presented now gives us an opportunity to monitor over the next year, if there are potential impacts on reducing interest in those types of applications. We don't believe that the level of increase gets us there quite yet, but that is an area we can continue to monitor and track moving forward.
Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you. I think just to follow on with Commissioner Streiner, Commissioner Peterson's line of questioning, I know you guys mentioned that there were you had engaged with the community. So specifically as it relates to the adaptive reuse fees and the GLUP study fees, did you have conversations with the community or with the local businesses and developers about those fees and if they would dissuade development?
As for actual like dates and times, if you're looking for specifics, I don't have that in my back pocket right at this moment. But of course, we always want to seek out that feedback to anyone who's going to be impacted, especially when it comes to an instance where it's going to cost them money or more money. But I can certainly like.
I guess I'm asking, we received the Chamber of Commerce's letter, which suggested that in comparison to neighboring counties, that this could decrease the competitiveness of Arlington County in bringing in some of these developments. And so I'm just curious. I heard, Anthony just now say that it was kind of a look and see approach. I'm just curious if there's been engagement with developers to find out how much this might impact them in choosing Arlington over another local county.
Sure. And I'm sure that we'll also get an earful of that on Wednesday when we talk to our NIOP friends. I'm sure that they will be happy to give us some feedback because they're all private developers. But did you have anything to add?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have the NIOP meeting on Wednesday, at which I'm sure we'll be able to engage. But as to specifics, I apologize, I don't have specifics but we certainly don't want to deter anybody from not wanting to look at Arlington as a potential site for development and business.
Thank you. Commissioner Lantelmi, then Commissioner Steinberger.
First I want to associate myself with Commissioner Peterson and Commissioner Striner. I think their comments are well taken. I note that, for example, special GLUP studies, it's a flat rate, it's a large increase, and I understand why, but it's still a large increase. And I think that we have a number of fairly small sites within the county, and some that we have, for this commission, have dealt with that involve very tiny properties. Yet it's a flat rate, no matter how big the site is. I think that by going up so high and having it a flat rate, we're basically having a lot of orphan sites will just simply never qualify, never be able to economically even go through a special GLUP study, much less redevelop it, because this is will be such a high flat rate to do the special GLUP study. And I think that's something we really need to look at, because we have increasing numbers of these little orphan sites in the metro corridors, in the sector plan areas. And part of it is because we have a number of sector and area plans that are really outdated, and that's why we've had to have special GLUP studies. It's because the plans are so outdated that they don't really reflect current market conditions or even thinking of how we want to do planning for a particular area. So I'm not thrilled with the way this is being done for the special GLUP studies. I also noted we have very large increases for UCDs and URDs, and sort of what's going on with those. And I also note the school fees, which we just talked about, they're tripling. And I'm particularly concerned for the small ones, for enrollment under 100. These are entities that are not highly profitable, and these amounts make a difference. So I'm afraid what we're doing is we're discouraging our small businesses. We're discouraging redevelopment of small properties because our fee rate is going up so high that it's going to be uneconomic for the smaller businesses, the smaller properties, to be able to redevelop the way we want, or that are desirable. And I definitely want to just resourcing myself on the adaptive reuse. Those are quick wins for the county. And saying, well, we're going to do it and see what happens. Well, if we lose even one project in the course of a year and it gets delayed by a year, that wipes out all the savings that we have, or the additional revenue that we've gotten by not getting additional taxes from that property for that year or two, that it isn't being done, or it's never being done. That's money we never get. So I think we're being penny wise and pound foolish when it comes to the adaptive reuse properties. Thank you.
Commissioner Steinberger.
I wasn't sure if there's going to be a response to that from the floor, but apparently not. So I think you heard from a few people, and I do apologize for being tardy. I have, however, reviewed the presentation beforehand, and one of the things that I think you heard from a few different people this evening on kind of picking apart some of the individual fees, and everyone sort of has their individual care area potentially, where they might, ask more specific questions, whether it's about childcare centers or adaptive reuse or what have you. So I'm going to pull the thread on local historic districts, since, I came to Planning Commission by way of the HALRB, and I have a soft spot for that. And they've expressed, considerable concern that the fees for local historic districts are increasing so greatly. I was trying to scroll through and could not find the exact increase so quickly, but it's going up to 500 from what is the current fee?
This is a new fee, and it's
fully new. Okay.
Yeah, $250 for per request, up to 4 where it will be $1,000. So you'll pay $250 for one, $250. That's $500 for the second one. $750 for the third, $1,000 for 4 plus.
And that's per applicant.
Per applicant, yes.
Okay, so talk me through that a little bit in terms of sort of the scenario in which the same applicant would need to go through the, are we talking about going through the process 4 times potentially on any individual site, or this would be one applicant who might have 4? Is that common when you're applying for a local historic district, that you have to go through the same process for the same property so many times?
That I'm not aware of. So if you, it would be per property. So my apologies if there was confusion there when I first said that, but per property. So if one person if multiple people had the same request, like that would be bundled to that same request. And if it was a different property, it would be counted as a separate request.
Then that would be a separate 250. Okay, yeah. So if multiple people wanted to bring a local historic district designation for the same property, and conceptually they would split the fee, it would still be a total of 250 because it aligns to the property, not the individual making the application.
Right, that's my understanding.
Okay. Certainly I think that the projection that number that was touted out is that this is expected to maybe raise something in the ballpark of like $500 in revenue. I don't think that many people pursue local historic designations in Arlington County, even if we wish that they would do so a little more, or some people feel that way. So the effect of sort of putting any fee on that one would raise such a low amount in revenue. I think that there's some understandable confusion as to where the, is that really the alignment of where sort of the focus should be when we're talking about applying some of these fees? And if we're already in a situation, I think others talked about, with adaptive reuse, that you don't want to inadvertently chill people from pursuing this, that's certainly a feeling that, is abundant when we're talking about, from the perspective of the HLRB, from the community that's interested in historic preservation, in, having more folks, consider and pursue the local historic designation opportunity. And that's something that I think that, there is a concern there. And I think it's worth having this body consider it to get your feedback on that, to sort of raise that concern to the level of, group discourse in this forum.
So I want to make one thing clear, that in no way is this fee punitive towards applicants. It is strictly based on our cost recovery principles, again, where we looked at 12 months worth of expenses per request and looked at what it typically would cost for staff to handle this request through the process. So we certainly don't want to deter anybody from submitting a request or pursuing historic designation for sites that they have identified as interest.
I appreciate that, and I certainly wasn't implying an intentionality to a punitive action here. That was, not my goal in the statement. I think that when we're talking about, and I think Commissioner Lantelmi hit on this as well, when we're talking about so little revenue being raised from some of these permit processes in the context of the overall, the county's budget, I am wondering if we are fixating on the right things, not just with the local historic districts, but in a broader context as well. And so I'm still mulling this over, but I may very well make a motion to, strip the new fee for local historic districts from, consideration of this body, not necessarily to, I think HLRB had suggested, increasing fees elsewhere. I'm not interested in sort of taking a wider look at, increasing fees elsewhere, but I do think that there's maybe room for some scaffolding when it comes to, the application of that new fee and what the potential impact could be. So I'm going to think on that a little bit and see if any others have questions or thoughts on that. Thank you.
I want to follow up on Commissioner Steinberger's comments because I also too have a soft spot for historic things. And I did note in the email that was received from HALRB that they did suggest, they didn't say, hey, just don't raise our fees. They also suggested another way to recoup fees short of increasing the other one to 500. So I'm wondering if it would be possible for the county to consider raising the demolition fee versus the trying to get your place done historically. It sends a message that maybe we do want to preserve history and we don't, maybe if somebody is going to demolish something, I don't think somebody who really wants to demolish something is going to demolish it anyway, whether it's $1,000 or whatever. And it may very well be tax deductible. I don't know. But is there any way we could consider that versus the other fee? Because this body heard, I want to say, 2 different historic district projects within the last year and a half, and both were individual property owners, one in Cherrydale just trying to protect, they felt the need to protect their historic home after, their demise. So, I'm just a little sensitive to this topic too. So is it possible to consider that instead?
So one thing, real quick, a point of clarification, that those are 2 different funding sources, right? Like the demolition is handled not, of course, by any of our historic preservation folks. So it's more of our development fund side. So, it's 2 different funding sources. If, again, it all comes down to a board decision. If the board decided that they wanted to pursue, a different option, we would be open to having, of course, those discussions. There's nothing that is restricting us from having those discussions.
I have a couple other questions. One, and this was something I brought up. I think I bring it up every year, and you alluded to it a little bit, Commissioner Garcia. The process. It would be helpful for us if this comes up to actually have had the meeting with NAOP first, because I feel like sometimes the process we're not really cued in to what the community feels who might be most directly impacted by most of this without the letter from, the chamber or from HALRB. So it would be helpful in the future when we're planning these out to make it look like the process is maybe perhaps a little bit more transparent, because right now I don't feel like it feels that way. Also, should some of these things that we've talked about, and I know this is very speculative, be denied, or we recommend, not that the county board would follow, but if we would recommend any sort of denial this evening, how much of a budget impact does that have on your division? And I know that's very speculative, but I'm just curious. I know it's kind of hard to answer, but I'm just thinking it out.
Yeah, it would depend on which section you, the commission decided to oppose as well. If there were really particular fees or areas that, as part of the, the schedule that is going before the board that you wanted to move forward with the, opposing. So as an actual fiscal impact, I couldn't necessarily give you that right now in the moment. But there certainly would be something because myself, Alexis, all of our staff have put in at this point probably hundreds, if not thousands, of hours in calculating these fees along with the increases and balancing that out in our FY27 proposed.
Okay. And one more question. Last year, when we were talking about fees, I asked, and staff wasn't able to give me an answer, but there was an applicant in the room that did. And I was wondering at that time, and I got a nod from the one that was here at that time. And my question was, are the fees that are associated with, the project construction and all those other things like the GLUP fee and all those things, are they tax deductible? Simple nod. They don't know. Okay. Last year's applicant that was here nodded yes, so I was just curious. So, okay, thank you. Any other questions? Commissioner Amadeo?
This may seem like an obvious question, but also has there been an analysis on the burden on projects in terms of process? Like are there studies to streamline some of the projects, especially depending on size, depending on location? I mean,
Well, I mean, we're always sort of reviewing ways to facilitate better, right? When when there are site plan applications and development projects that are coming through. I mean, Anthony and his staff are doing a lot of moving around of puzzle pieces and chess pieces to make sure that they can appropriately lend the right review and the amount of time that's needed for each one of those. And we're certainly always looking at ways to move those through as quickly as possible. Of course, sometimes, as the commission is probably also aware, there are extenuating circumstances that we run into, or the developer runs into, or whatever that ends up being. So, but we always are doing our best to try and not create additional barriers, especially when it comes to these important projects.
thank you.
Any other questions? Oh, Commissioner Strainer.
So
Just, sorry, one follow-up, the Alexis, comment on Alexis.
go ahead.
I just wanted to follow up on Chairwoman Bagley's comment. The goal is always to meet with the public groups and community groups in an order that makes sense. Unfortunately, the timing of the meetings sometimes don't line up. Right now with NAOP, they are meeting with Arlington staff every other month, and it doesn't flow with the time that the manager submits his budget proposal to when we are then allowed to have a discussion about it, to then when we're allowed to come to planning commission. So while the goal obviously is to make sure that all of those are created in an order to where people can make the most informed decision, it doesn't always allow itself like that. But what we can do is see if there's a way where we can schedule it differently next year to see if we can get those conversations in an order that is.
I appreciate that. I think that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, just so in terms of just respond to me with head nods or head shakes on this one. So if I were to propose an alternate motion here that caps the sort of per fee increase at 50%, rather than sort of taking what Commissioner Steinberger was saying, a sort of individual approach to these, would there be support on the commission for capping the increase at 50% per fee? I'm seeing mixed reactions.
What would the impact be on new fees? It didn't exist before.
Right. Well, what happens when you multiply something by 0? Yeah.
It would-
So I just want to
Please don't
say,
give me a math quiz.
we do this every year and we just spitball a number.
Time. Who's speaking? I think speaking.
I mean, I kind of, but I didn't raise my hand. So
All right. So Commissioner Patel, why don't you go ahead?
You go. I'll go after Commissioner Patel.
Okay. We do this every year. We spitball numbers. We have no basis in doing it. And so I just want to formally say I would not be in support of just throwing out a 50% number.
Commissioner Steinberg and then
I
Commissioner
don't
Peters.
want a math quiz, but I think what you're saying is that it would get rid of the new fees that didn't exist before.
Well, it just wouldn't be able to address it because if it's
Wouldn't be able
zero,
to
it
fix
can't
it.
increase from
Okay.
zero. Because
Yeah, I still feel like you gave me a pop quiz. I don't like that.
Commissioner Peterson.
So I wanted to say that the whole reason that we're doing these increases in fees is because several years ago, we decided that most of these fees should be cost recovery, and we were already doing it in a phased multi-year approach. So I think that this is just the next step in the multi-year approach, and we are in a very challenging budget season where we are going to be cutting a lot of important programs. So I'm okay with most of the fee increases, with the exception of the couple that, to me, very much relate to established county policy. And so I plan to have some motions that say, like, don't increase the daycare and childcare fees, and potentially reassess mid-year the adaptive reuse fees to see if we are seeing an impact and we're not seeing applications, and maybe NAOP is telling us it's because of the fees. Then maybe in 6 months, we are able to reassess and say, hey, let's put the fees back to where they were.
Commissioner Patel, then Commissioner Steinberger.
I just wanted to let everybody know that my vote would be in favor of the recommendation. I think that we struggle every year with this parsing out certain fees because we're trying to figure out what matters and what doesn't matter. But I don't believe that that is, we don't have the full story. And so when we're thinking about what the impact is on, childcare, what the impact, we have no idea where other budget items are coming from. But I think the most important thing for me is what you've hit on already. We are in an extremely tight budget year. This is a multi-phase process. We are looking at recovering all fees associated with development. And this is a place that we have gotten to after multiple years of study. So I am in favor of supporting this particular motion. I don't believe that we are in a budget cycle that allows us to subsidize these costs anymore, particularly when the budget is speaking specifically to human services as a priority. Thank you.
Commissioner Steinberger, did you want to make a comment?
Yeah, I'll soft pull. Commissioner Streiner gave me the idea, even though I did not like your quiz, to soft pull the body with regards to the local historic district fees. If a motion were made to either remove that new fee or to, instill it at a lower number, just give me eyeballs or nodding or something. What would be the situation? Okay, I've got one supporter. Okay, thank you. That helps me give me context. Thank you. Sorry.
Commissioner Lynn, tell me.
Yeah, I would be happy to support a motion that Commissioner Peterson is talking about introducing. I think that moves in the right direction. It's too late for us to deal with this now. This is coming to us, we have to vote on it one way or another. I would very much like for next year, as Mr. Patel noted, this comes up every year. Could we get a briefing earlier on about this? And I'd like to get some ideas for, like for the Columbia Pike, we have it by square footage. We have a base fee and then by square footage above that. Why could not we have that for other parts of this? What would that mean? I'd like to know the impact and I'd like to get our Economic Development Commission involved in this. What is the impact of this? What do they see? I'd really like to hear from them about this, because this isn't just a planning. This is clearly an economic issue. I very much would like to see, again, adaptive reuse earlier on. And I'd like to see, how do we deal? Are we actively discouraging small sites from being redeveloped because of these fees? I'd like to know some information about that. So I'd like maybe 6 months from now, 9 months from now, to be briefed as a commission, an informational session on this. And I would very much recommend that NIOP be before us. I don't think that's too unreasonable to ask. Thank you.
Commissioner Amadeo.
I'm the liaison to the Economic Development Commission. I'd be glad to go and ask them directly on Tuesday. But I'm a little anxious about being so specific about certain projects. Are there any then with like, I feel the anxiety of like, okay, what else are we not considering? To me, this feels strange. Of course, this is the first time I've seen anything like it. So I'm very curious about how we get here. I'm curious about all the processes, the costs, all of these things, also because sometimes I'm on the other end of it. Looking at even with single family homes, how much it costs to do anything in Arlington right now. So it's very interesting. So is there anything that we're forgetting? And then isn't it dangerous for us to say, we're going to say yes to this, no to that, and then be so specific about that and no other things?
Seeing no other I'm sorry. Commissioner
You go
Patel.
ahead. Go, please. You go first.
Oh, Commissioner.
I just had a quick one to add on to what Commissioner Lantelmi was recommending for next year. I think, it really would be useful to see the fee comparison across local counties, neighboring counties. I think that should be something that should inform our, competitiveness as a county. And so I find it challenging to weigh in without understanding that. So I think that would be really beneficial.
If I
Commissioner
could,
Patel?
sorry.
Go ahead.
To the extent that Commissioner Peterson plans on making her motion, I just wanted to make sure that Mr. Pfeiffer, my vote will be based on the fact that I'm not parsing out fees. Thank you.
Okay, so Commissioner Lantelmi, can you read the motion, please?
That
Just a
staff
moment.
has a comment.
I just wanted to address the commission members' comment. As part of the evaluations of the fees and the fee studies that we went through an exercise on trying to compare fees to local jurisdictions. And what we found out across the board between planning, inspection services, and zoning fees, development fees in general, is that each jurisdiction does it differently. And it is very difficult to find an apple-on-apple comparison. And so we found that the data was not useful. Every year or two, actually, we try and go back and dig through it and see if we can find any useful data. But because the way that other fee schedules and the way that other jurisdictions charge for certain tasks, it is really and truly difficult to find something that aligns with what Arlington is doing in a one-for-one kind of comparison. I will, of course, Jim and I will take this back to the planning division and see if there is anything that we can evaluate differently. I just wanted to put it out there that we have done that in the past, done the work, the legwork, the benchmarking, the comparisons, and we're unable to come up with data that made sense.
No, I appreciate you providing that additional information. I think then it just would be kind of working together to figure out how we can weigh ourselves from a competitiveness perspective, right? It sounds like if the data is all different, well, then how maybe queries are sent out to developers or something, or the Economic Development Commission. There has to be some way we can have this data to inform our way forward.
Commissioner Lantelmi, I think we're ready for the motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the Planning Commission recommend that the county board adopt fiscal year 2027 changes to CPHD development-related fees as depicted on the inspection services and zoning and planning fee schedules related to building and trade permits, administrative changes, form-based code applications, site plan applications, administratively reviewed permits and requests, certificates of occupancy, variances, use permits, local historic district designations, and other fees as shown in attachments A and B to the staff report dated March 19, 2026, and in the staff presentation for the April 6, 2026 Planning Commission meeting.
Second.
Commissioner Peterson, seconded.
And can I do an amendment?
Yes, you can do yes.
Okay, so I would like to move that the Planning Commission recommend to the county board to not increase fees for childcare centers and nursery schools. And then I will do a second motion with the other one.
Second.
Commissioner Streiner seconded that. Any discussion on your motion?
Not more than I said already, which is just that this is a county priority. There are shortages across the county, and I think these fees will have a minimal impact to the county revenue, but a very big impact to the small businesses that are struggling to have childcare in the county.
Okay. Any other, Commissioner Amadeo, are you ready to vote?
I know you're going to ask me first.
No, I'm not ready to. Are there any other comments or questions before we move to a vote? Okay, great. All right, we'll do this alphabetically. Commissioner Amadeo.
Oh, the alphabet.
I'm sorry.
Set. It's the alphabet. I'm very hesitant because I appreciate the spirit. I feel the need to maybe look into who are the downtrodden that we're trying to protect, and is there more that we're forgetting? So is that enough to just say daycare? So I don't know how to vote because I'm torn between the idea of, yes, that works, but what else?
You have yes, no, or abstain.
know
Abstentions
that.
don't count.
I know, I
towards a
just wanted to
referendum.
qualify what I'm about to say. Yeah,
Is there such a thing as a pass? I don't think so. No,
no.
sorry, there's no passing
Yeah.
here.
So, I'm gonna say abstain because I don't want to say nay.
Very good. All right, Commissioner Garcia.
Yes.
All right. Commissioner Johnson.
I'm so used to being like Whitfield, so I was like, what?
To use Johnson.
I know. Just
That's
caught
okay.
me off guard. Sorry. I am going to abstain,
Abstain.
just from the standpoint of the childcare situation is not as bad as we think it is, and I know that for a fact. So.
Okay. Commissioner Lantelmi.
Aye.
Okay. Commissioner Patel.
No.
Okay. Commissioner Peterson.
Aye.
Okay. Commissioner Robertson.
Aye.
Commissioner Steinberger.
Aye.
Commissioner Streiner.
Aye.
And Commissioner Bagley. That's me. I'm going to go no. So, Mr. Pfeiffer, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ayes, 2 nays, and 2 abstentions. Does that jive with your job? Very good.
That's what I
Okay,
have,
we love
yes.
that. All righty. So, yes, so you have another.
Okay,
Motion.
and my second motion is I move the Planning Commission recommend to the county board to direct the county manager to reassess adaptive reuse fees mid-year to ensure that there hasn't been a negative impact to applications.
I'll second that.
Commissioner Lantelmi seconded. Any other discussion, questions, comments? No? All right.
Here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Steinberg.
I'm gonna vote nay on that one. I understand the reasoning behind wanting to reassess this in 6 months, but I also understand that in a challenging budget environment, maybe when we are doing more with less in terms of staff resources, maybe doing a reassessment in 6 months isn't necessary. I feel like it's fine to do the assessment in a year, which is what we're doing anyway. So that's my reasoning. Thank you.
If there are no other, Commissioner Johnson?
I just would like it to be read again because it was very fast. So I apologize, Cindy, but thank you.
That's fine. So I move the Planning Commission recommend to the county board to direct the county manager to reassess the adaptive reuse fees mid-year to ensure there hasn't been a negative impact to applications.
Thank you.
All right. So moving along to the vote.
I do
Oh, I'm
have
sorry.
one.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm thinking this through in my head. My concern is I don't know how they're going to assess that. And so in my opinion, I almost think we just don't increase it at all.
I mean, I don't think it has to be a big reassessment. I think
Yeah.
if they're just talking to applicants who had expressed interest
Yeah.
and then suddenly they're saying, no, we're not going to do it, we're going to wait longer, then that could be enough for the county board to say, put the fees back down. I don't want this to be like a big study,
And
just like.
can you do a mid-year change of fees?
Excuse me? What's the?
Can you change the year fees mid-year? Could you reduce them again?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
it would just take board action. We would put forth the recommendation through CMO. It would go to the board. They would evaluate, go through the same
Mm.
debative process and make a decision, take action.
Mr. Streiner, you have a question?
If we did the assessment halfway through the year, then we have to do the staff analysis, then the report, then the commission and the board, then we're already at 2028 at that point. That's kind of my,
I mean, I
my
don't think it
fear.
needs to be a big assessment. I think if like 3 applicants said, I mean, there's only like 10 projects that
That's
can be
true.
converted. So
Yeah,
if 3 of them are like, we're not doing this because of your fees, then the staff can write up a memo. It goes on the consent agenda and it's fixed.
yeah. I would rather, to go back to my original plan, I kind of like the idea of just kind of capping it at a certain percentage, but I'll still support it because the board's going to see us discussing this on their report anyway. So you still have my vote on this.
The vote?
So it looks like we're ready to vote. We'll do this alphabetically. Commissioner Amadeo,
Aye.
Commissioner Garcia,
I will support it as well, though I am concerned. I do think it would also have been nice to not have it increase or to have it be capped. So, but yes, I.
Commissioner Johnson.
Nay.
Okay. Commissioner Lantelmi,
Aye.
Commissioner Patel,
Nay.
Commissioner Peterson,
Aye.
Commissioner Robertson,
Nay.
Commissioner Steinberger,
Nay.
Commissioner Streiner.
Aye.
I'm voting nay, so let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ayes and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nays, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, very good. I'm not sure what that means. It's a tie. We have a face-off. Let's go shoot some baskets. I mean, what?
It fails, yeah.
It fails. Okay, all right. So
So
that
could we
fails.
make a motion then to cap it? Like,
Huh?
Commissioner Streiner, could we make a new motion to maybe cap the increase, not at, I guess, 200%?
Can you come back to me on that?
Oh, so
Well,
that- I didn't know.
We
the
haven't
motion
because
was
it's
just that-
going to be amended by the,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, no, we're good. That's okay. No.
I might need a second to cook something up, but come back to me on that. Sorry, are there other?
No.
Oh, this is
you're-
it? This is the last one? Oh, my.
And I don't think anyone wants to hear my rendition of the victors or anything right now, so
Commissioner Lynn.
I don't know what to do to fill in the time.
Were you, I do have a question for Commissioner Lynn. Tell me, were you going to propose an amendment on the GLUP based on size?
No,
or no?
I was not.
Okay.
Yeah, it would require a lot more than just this. This is why I wanted for next year.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with it. Like, I mean, I could throw out an arbitrary 50%, but that's kind of what you get with Commissioner Patel raised. So I can make that motion and we'll just do it for the record, but I don't have any data backing that up necessarily.
I'd rather have a motion like along the lines of what Commissioner Lantelmi was getting at, which is that we should have this briefing earlier in the year. But I don't know if that's a motion that we can make. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay, we want to be briefed earlier next year. I think Commissioner Lantelmi made that clear, but just I'll reiterate that that's something I would also support. Because I think then we don't end up in this situation where we're trying to make economic policy from the bench, so to speak, without data. that
And
we
when you
want.
say earlier in the year, what do you mean by that?
Commissioner Lantelmi, I liked what you were saying. Please resume.
Yeah, I'd like to have you come to talk to us maybe 3 months before this.
So the issue is that we aren't allowed to talk about the county manager's proposed budget before he proposes it.
Well,
And he doesn't propose it until February.
what's the earliest you could come talk to us?
Well, anything that's in the proposed budget or is under consideration in the proposed budget by CMO, we need to wait until the CMO releases the proposed budget.
So February?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, that's still 2 months earlier than this.
No, I think it wouldn't make the February meeting. It would make the March meeting because it would come mid-February and we meet the first week of February.
Yeah, typically the board meeting for the proposed budget is around the 18th to the 22nd.
So
of
the March, but it would be our March meeting rather
It
than.
would be a March meeting would be the target date.
Because I would like to have some sort of way that we could have a discussion with you about what we're seeing and what we would like to know. It doesn't mean you have to tell us what the numbers are going to be, but it's more a case of what are you seeing? What are your numbers that you're seeing that we could then use? Because as Commissioner Striner said, there's no data. If you start having data, and again, it's not what the board's, even what you're recommending, but just tell us what you're seeing, and can we then use that to evaluate where we're going to be going and give you questions
Just
and
for
issues.
just for clarification, when you say what you're seeing, you're saying like project pipeline wise, like what we would
For
expect.
example, how many for adaptive reuse? How many projects have been coming up?
Okay, so I would interpret that to being like a
Right. Is there,
pipeline type of
right.
Are
Are you seeing more of these type of projects? Are we seeing fewer of these? How many special GLUPs are we now getting? You know, that type of thing, so we can get a feel for that. And I'd like to have the discussion on the policy grounds of these, you know, small parcels. Are they, you know, if you can talk to NIAP, can we get idea from the, you know, from NIAP whether we're just losing development because it's not economic to redevelop some of these orphan sites in the CO districts? That's the type of information I think we'd like to get and have a discussion on. We're not even asking for to give a conclusion, but have the discussion. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, I think we've jumped that point home. Are you going to make? No. Okay, so back to the initial now amended motion. We are going to vote on that so that we can move along. Commissioner Amadeo. So this is the initial motion
It's amended for the
amended
daycare.
as for the daycare.
Right.
Okay.
Abstain.
Okay. Commissioner Garcia.
Aye.
Okay. Commissioner Johnson.
I am abstaining.
Okay. Commissioner Lantelmi.
Aye.
Commissioner Patel.
Nay.
Commissioner Robertson.
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Commissioner Steinberger.
Aye.
Commissioner Striner.
Aye.
And I will vote nay on that. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ayes and 2 nays and 2 abstains. Thank you. Thank you. Is that correct? Excellent. Okay. So I want to thank everybody for, first of all, for your patience. I know that the next one queued up, and for the speakers and everything. I think you can see that I think this topic would have gone much smoother this evening had just a little bit of prep for it, because we're all kind of floundering around as to how we should respond, as has been well stated tonight. So again, whatever you can do to fix this so it doesn't go like this next year will be greatly appreciated. But I know how much this is a very difficult time for staff. You don't have enough dollars for everything that everybody expects of the county. So, you know, again, we appreciate everything that you're doing and wish you the best in this very crazy time for you. And again, I want to thank the speakers and those of the folks who sent comments to us. Madam Clerk, would you care to call the next item?
Yes, thank you. Our next item is associated with 3130 Langston Boulevard, known as the Walgreens site for redevelopment. We have the GLUP GLP A24-00004, the General Land Use Plan Amendment, rezoning REZN 24-00004, and SPLN 24-00004 for the site plan 481. We have our very own Matt Pfeiffer to present this item to us this evening.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Chair, my name is Matt Pfeiffer with the Department of Community Planning, Housing and Development Planning Division, and I have my colleague Bryce Johnson with the Department of Environmental Services, Development Services Bureau here to assist. The item we will be discussing this evening is a GLUP amendment, rezoning, and new site plan known as Site Plan 481 for what we've called the Walgreens site at 3130 Langston Boulevard. So again, This package consists of a general land use plan amendment to change the GLUP designation from public and service commercial to medium office apartment hotel, a rezoning of the site from C2 to CO 2.5, and a new site plan to permit construction of a 13-story building with 300 residential units and approximately 7,200 square feet of ground floor retail. So the subject site is located at 3130 Langston Boulevard. It is bounded on the north by Langston Boulevard, on the east by the famous pawn site, which we have referred to as the pawn shop site, on the south by Kirkwood Road, and on the west by the Interstate 66 off-ramp. So this section will talk a little bit about adopted plans and policies that are applicable to the site. So the site is currently identified on the general land use plan as service commercial. The current map does show a portion of the site as public. However, staff research has identified that this is likely a remnant from when VDOT was acquiring right-of-way for I-66. And over the years, due to the way the GLUP map was drawn, encompasses a little bit more of the site than it had originally. For those reasons, and the fact that the site has long been zoned C2, staff does believe that the correct designation is service commercial. Langston Boulevard Area Plan also identifies the site as recommended for general land use plan amendments. When redevelopment occurs, the applicant is proposing to amend the GLUP designation from medium office apartment hotel to medium office apartment hotel, which is consistent with the Langston Boulevard Area Plan recommendation and will facilitate redevelopment in accordance with the area plan. Site is currently zoned C2, and the applicant is proposing to rezone the site to CO 2.5, which corresponds with the proposed medium office apartment hotel GLUP designation. So the Langston Boulevard Area Plan provides the key guiding recommendations for redevelopment of this site. The site is located within Area 5 West and also is within the Spout Run Activity Hub. This area is envisioned to include the greatest scale of development given its low topography and proximity to I-66, as well as proximity to Roslyn and other transit corridors. Building heights are recommended for 12 stories, corresponding to a 136-foot height envelope. The Langston Boulevard Area Plan recognizes this area as prone to significant flooding, and so recommends stormwater management measures, including overland relief corridors. Specific stormwater management approaches are recommended to be engineered at the time of final site plan review. Finally, the plan recommends a new public space at the southwestern corner of the site, which is recommended to be a park plaza hybrid space. So the following series of slides will provide our analysis of conformance to the area plan, as well as the evolution of the project through the review process. So before we get to that, here is a slide that shows statistics. The new site plan would demolish the existing 2-story commercial building and construct a new 13-story building containing 300 residential units and roughly 7,200 square feet of ground floor retail GFA. There are 361 parking spaces proposed in a 4-level parking garage, which is 1 level below grade and 3 levels above grade. The applicant is proposing 114 units and 887 square feet of retail GFA as additional density. The proposed height is 13 stories, 136 feet. Proposed modifications are for additional density, density exclusions, loading spaces, Kirkwood Road setbacks, and all other modifications necessary to support the development proposal. So stormwater management was a major focus of staff's evaluation of the site plan and really had a major effect on the site design and building placement. The Langston Boulevard Area Plan recommends an overland relief corridor along Kirkwood Road, but also notes that specific overland relief and stormwater management strategies are determined at the time of site plan review. Through analyses of multiple alternatives, it was identified that the intentional overland relief pathway should be located on the eastern side of the site. This, along with the new culvert system to be installed by the applicant, effectively mitigates flooding impacts to neighboring properties. The design of the project changed significantly throughout the course of the review. The applicant originally proposed masonette units, residential units lining the Kirkwood Road frontage, but did remove them due to the shift in building placement and impacts on the parking efficiency. Another design change I want to draw your attention to, staff worked with the developer on floodproofing measures to ensure that the building is protected given the site's location. The result of these floodproofing measures was that the building slab was raised to an even 180 feet. So there were portions where the retail frontage along Langston did not meet the grade as a result of these floodproofing measures. And in addition, in the rear of the property adjacent to the public space, there were areas where the building lobby was grade separated from the public space. So this can be seen on the image to your left. The applicant did work with staff on building designs to better integrate the building into the public realm. So on the Langston Boulevard side, the applicant is proposing a loggia system where the building facade is recessed under an arcade. So this design, we think, will improve retail accessibility and integrates the public realm elements in a more deliberate manner. So staff supports this design change. On building height, the Langston Boulevard area plan recommends 12 stories, as explained earlier. The Langston Boulevard area plan has a dual approach to height, recommending a maximum number of stories as well as a height envelope in feet. In this case, the subject site is recommended for a maximum of 136 feet, which the applicant is meeting. They're proposing a 13-story building due to a mezzanine parking level that corresponds to the volume of the double height retail space. When viewed from Langston Boulevard, the building appears as 12 stories. However, other vantage points where the garage level is visible is a visible part of the facade. The building appears as 13 stories. Nevertheless, the building does meet the recommendation for a maximum of 136 feet. The applicant is proposing a public space in the southwestern corner of the site. The design of the space was discussed extensively during the public review process, and this image shows the evolution of the design. The final design incorporates a mix of planted space, decking and hardscape, and tree plantings that provides both casual and active uses. Langston Boulevard area plan sets a target for these types of spaces at 5,000 square feet. However, this space is roughly 10% smaller as a result of the placement of the building and overland relief viability. Nevertheless, the space does meet the design goals of the Langston Boulevard area plan for a Park Plaza hybrid space and is supported by staff. In addition, and not counted towards the public space size, the applicant is providing a public access easement for a walkway on the western side of the building that links Langston Boulevard to the public space. Finally, it's worth mentioning that the applicant is meeting Langston Boulevard area plan tree canopy targets, as well as minimums for street tree spacing and planting strip dimensions. Portion of the site encroaches into the resource protection area, and as a result, the applicant requested an exception from the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Ordinance. This request was heard by the Chesapeake Bay Ordinance Review Committee, or CBORC for short, on March 17th, which granted the exception subject to certain conditions. These include a requirement for phosphorus load reduction of 0.49 pounds per year of the current conditions and planting of five canopy and 3 understory trees within the RPA area. And so the applicant has agreed to site plan conditions to implement these conditions of approval from CBORC. The applicant is proposing a community benefits package that provides affordable housing, community facilities, and sustainable design elements in conformance with, in compliance with Arlington County Zoning Ordinance Section 15.58 and 15.59. The applicant is complying with standard site plan conditions to mitigate the impacts of the development related to streetscape improvements, public art, utility fund contributions, a transportation demand management program, in-building wireless infrastructure, and others. The applicant is also going to build a recommended bike lane and rebuild an existing bus stop on Langston Boulevard. And the applicant is also providing the county overland relief easements on all site frontages. In order to comply with Arlington County zoning ordinance section 15.58, the applicant is providing 19 on-site committed affordable housing units. These consist of 7 one-bedroom and 6 two-bedroom units at 60% area median income, and 3 one-bedroom and 3 two-bedroom units at 80% area median income. So the applicant is providing the following community benefits to earn the requested 114 units of additional density: a $1.77 million cash contribution to the Affordable Housing Investment Fund, construction, maintenance, and easements for the public space, a new 8x8 box culvert, and easement for stormwater management and detention, and participation in the Green Building Incentive Program at the 0.35 FAR tier. The applicant will be providing a new development that meets the county's equity goals by providing a greater housing mix than exists today, a new public space, and enhancing the existing transportation network with new and improved pedestrian, bike, and transit facilities. So the site plan was reviewed at 2 SPRC meetings. Major topics of discussion were building height and massing, architectural design, site design and building placement, stormwater management, landscaping and tree canopy, public space design, streetscapes, and transportation and pickup drop-off. 4 civic associations that participated in the review process have provided correspondence to staff, the Planning Commission, and the County Board, expressing concerns related to transportation studies and timing, as well as the lack of site consolidation and perceived impacts to building bulk and site design. As mentioned previously, the project was reviewed by CBORC on March 17th. They did grant the exception to the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Ordinance subject to conditions. The project was heard by the Transportation Commission on March 26th, who recommended to approve the project unanimously. They also passed an amending motion recommending that transportation studies recommended by the Langston Boulevard Area Plan for Area 5 be expedited. Staff finds that the project is in general conformance with county plans and policies and specifically advances many important objectives from the Langston Boulevard Area Plan. The plan implements GLUP and zoning changes and delivers land use mixes and housing production in line with plan objectives given the site's location within the Spout Run Activity Hub. The plan delivers 19 on-site CAF units and provides a $1.77 million contribution to AHIF, as well as the base contribution. Plan delivers recommended streetscape, bike, and bus stop improvements. Plan delivers a new privately owned public space. It effectively mitigates stormwater at the site through overland relief pathways and a new culvert system that will allow for future expansion of the county's storm sewer system. Plan achieves tree canopy targets on a very constrained site, and the plan will participate in the Green Building Incentive Program at the 0.35 FAR tier, demonstrating advancement of the community energy plan. For these reasons and more, staff recommends adoption of a resolution to approve the GLUP amendment and ordinances to approve the rezoning and site plan to facilitate redevelopment of the site. This concludes our presentation, and we will be available to answer any questions during the deliberation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pfeiffer. Now we'll hear from the applicant.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the Planning Commission. My name is Zach Williams. I'm a land use attorney with Venable representing Rooney Properties. And to kick us off, Cassie Guy is going to say a few words on behalf of the applicant.
Good evening. Cassie Guy. I'm here representing Rooney Properties. Rooney is a small, local, family-owned and operated real estate developer. We are actually located just about a mile up from the project site. Rooney, being a small shop, grants us the ability to focus on high-quality mixed-use and residential projects such as this. Rooney, being a long-term holder, we really pride ourselves on integrating in with the community. As such, we've worked closely with county staff and community members for the past 2 years, and we're excited to be here to present with you tonight. So thank you very much.
So Matt did a great job going over the project. I'll try not to be too repetitive, and we do have our whole team here tonight as well to answer questions. As for the project overview, you heard most of this from staff. A couple things to point out. We are meeting that 35% tree canopy coverage. That was no easy task. We were literally working on that up until just last week, trying to get the right mix of trees to make sure we can meet that. The other thing I should mention is that this is the first market rate project coming to the board, coming to the Planning Commission under the new Langston Boulevard area plan. So it's a big deal. We've been working on it for several years, and we're proud to have the first project market rate under the new Langston area plan, for hopefully the first of many. Staff touched on a number of the community benefits. I will say the total AHIP contribution, including the base contribution, is a little over 2.6 million, as well as the 19 on-site CAFs. Community engagement, like any project on Langston Boulevard, was extensive on this project. It started almost 2 years ago. This slide just shows the sort of formal meetings that we've had. We've had many, many additional meetings with the community and with stakeholders. We were adjacent to no less than 4 civic associations for this project, and we met with all 4 of them individually as well as collectively. It's been a great collaborative experience with these civic associations. This is obviously a big change for the neighborhood, and all civic associations were engaged throughout and ultimately led to a better project. So I'll walk through these slides quickly here in the interest of time, looking at the architecture from Langston Boulevard, here and now from the east side of the site. This is the parking garage, which is partially elevated with a courtyard on top. This is the pawn shop site that is not part of this project, not for want of trying. As you may be aware, initially the applicant sought to consolidate the site, was not able to. The National Pawn exercised its right of first refusal, which is why we were not able to do that. So that will continue to exist as it is today. Looking at the site from a bird's eye view across the Langston Boulevard here. Now looking down on the site, you can see that elevated courtyard as well as the interaction of Kirkwood Road with Langston Boulevard and then I-66 there as well. It's just a little bit more closer up view of that screening on the parking garage, which we've worked on throughout the process to not only beautify from an architectural standpoint, but also from a greenery standpoint, adding some biophilia there. That was not initially there, but came through as a result of feedback with the community and with staff. Just a little closer up view as well, just to show that architectural and biophilia treatment, screening the garage there along the sidewalk. Here's the entrance at the corner of Langston Boulevard and Kirkwood. It is an elevated entrance at this point due to some late changes that were made at the request of the staff for floodproofing purposes. This is something that we were working on really throughout the project to make sure that we were addressing some of the concerns about stormwater relief, flood protection, and things like that, not caused by the site, but due to where the site is located in the watershed. The loggia, that's probably one of the most recent changes that were made. And it's interesting, we made this change to address the floodproofing concerns, but it turned out to be what we think is a really an advantageous for the retailers. You know, Langston Boulevard is a very wide, noisy road in this area, providing a little bit more privacy, a little bit more protection for pedestrians to address those retailers, we think will be to the advantage of the site and to those future tenants. So we really like the way this turned out, even though it initially was really meant for purposes of the floodproofing. That courtyard on top of the site will be an amenity for residents. It's going to be extensively landscaped. It's also going to have a pool up there along with some plaza. Here's an overhead shot of the courtyard just to give you a sense for how much greenery will be planted on that third level courtyard, as well as around the site and in the Plaza Park hybrid that staff mentioned. These are some recent images of the Plaza Park hybrid, which has been redesigned and redesigned and redesigned many, many, many times. And this is the most recent design, hopefully one of the last, if not the last designs. But I think most folks agree that this is really getting at what we want for the site. It's an inviting area for the public as well as a sort of transition area for the residents of the building. There is an entrance there adjacent to this Plaza Park hybrid, which will probably be the primary entrance for residents, even though the official primary entrance will be on Langston Boulevard. And so you can see, so the decking treatment as well as the greenery, this is all intentional. Everything you can see here has been scrutinized and carefully designed by the land design folks, the experts behind us. Looking around the site, not just the park, but really every aspect of the site has been designed, landscaped sort of to the nth degree to create, we hope will be really a beautiful new vision for this site and really set a great precedent for the corridor. You can see that sort of every side of the building is going to have new inviting walkways with new greenery, as well as along Kirkwood Road and turning the corner from Langston. We really want to make sure all of these walkways are inviting, feel safe, feel like somewhere you'd want to be, really kind of getting to the essence of one of the goals of the Langston plan. Here's just another view of the walkway down Kirkwood Road. This is a combination of greenery, overland relief, as well as that screening that we talked about. Same thing there. Here's a slide I wanted to highlight. This is a big change that happened a couple months ago, where working closely with staff, it was determined that the overland relief shouldn't be along Kirkwood. It should be between the pawn shop site and the new building on the Walgreens site. So that required us to move our building back off the pawn shop property line and move it up where it was previously moved back along Kirkwood to create a new overland relief corridor and also to install a new box culvert. So there will be overland and underland relief in this area, which is great because that's, after many months of study, it was determined that's where the water is going to go. So we had to address that. The folks at VICA, also sitting behind me, can get into this in more detail. This was carefully studied from a technical engineering standpoint to make sure this would work. And you can see the location of the culvert adjacent to the existing culverts, which are not on this site, they're on the pawn shop site. So there now will be 3 culverts taking that water from the spout run, former spout run that kind of ends across the street there. And down, through the watershed. This will add an additional pathway for the water to help take some of that burden off of the existing area. We've seen some flooding there in the past. That concludes our presentation. We have our whole team here available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, do we have public speakers?
Boy, do we. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So for those who are speaking virtually, I will allow those speakers first, and then we'll finish with the speakers in person. For the speakers online, if you could turn your own mics on and your cameras once you are finished, turn them off, and please pay attention to the time allotted to speak, which is 2 minutes on the clock that I'll be displaying on the computer screen. Thank you. Okay, we have to call this person. Our first speaker is Bernie Byrne, followed by Aaron Roberts. Can you
Hello, can you
unmute
hear me?
yourself?
Can you
Yes,
hear
we
me?
can. Yes, thank you.
I had a little problem there. This project does not have enough biophilia. There is no green roof. No plants hang from the roof or ledges. Only a few climb on trellises to make green walls. There's not very many green walls. Further, the roof lacks solar panels. That's pretty important. A ledge above the 3rd floor will contain trees and other plants. However, that is not enough. The applicant should install native perennials that support pollinators in all tree trenches and other spaces that are available near streets and sidewalk. The applicant in the landscape plan shows examples of these. However, it does not show that these will actually, how many of these the applicant will actually install. The County Board's 2017 Monarch Pledge recommends plantings of milkweeds. However, the plant schedule does not contain any milkweeds. The applicant needs to add common milkweed, Asclepias syriaca, to the plant list. That's very important. Common milkweed is the most important food plant for bonnet caterpillars in Arlington and its vicinity. Although common milkweed spreads through its roots, its spread is not rapid. Routine maintenance and mowing can remove it from places where it is not desired. The applicant should also add black cherry and sassafras to the planting schedule. The caterpillars of many large butterflies and moths feed on these two trees. They're planting the wrong trees. The plant list contains 3 cultivars that are no more resistant to disease than their parents are. These are October Glory Maple, Dory River Birch, and Wildflower Tupelo. Many cultivars don't feed pollinators because they are sterile or have deformed flowers. The applicant needs to replace these cultivars with their parents or with native plants with similar characteristics, such as height, width, and flower and leaf color. Basically, we have a problem of the plant that's not very biophilic. We need those common milkweeds. We definitely, you have areas that look like along Kirkwood Road, we have grass between the trees. You need planting of pollinator plants there. There's a lot of problems with this project, but I've mentioned a few. But put that common milkweed in and provide the county with a plant list of containing those perennials and ground covers before that goes to the county board. I mean, I can't even evaluate this because you never produce that information. Other projects do it. You didn't.
Thank you, Mr. Byrne. Aaron Roberts is followed by John Carton. Oh, sure. No, if you, please don't do that. Okay, if you don't mind waiting with the in-person speakers. Thank you so much. Were you Aaron or John? It's been a long night. Okay, let me put you over here. John Carton is followed by Mark Koblenz. If you're online, please.
I'm John Carton. I'm Vice President of Lyon Village Citizens Association. This plan will set a crucial precedent in implementing the Langston Boulevard Area Plan vision and significantly determine whether the vision will be achieved. The highest priority should be to implement the goals of the plan to create the vibrant neighborhood hub that is envisioned by the plan. We are disappointed by the current plan, which falls very short. Despite the significant change in the available buildable area due to the loss of the pawn shop site and the stormwater mitigation requirements, Rooney and the staff have not revised the density, but instead have cut back many of the features that require ground space and are basic to the vision. This resulted in the current proposal, which is reduced setbacks, reduction of space sufficient for mature trees, less space for pullover and drop-off areas, and moving the southeast tower closer to Kirkwood in the adjacent neighborhood. Staff dismissed the fact that the tower now encroaches into the 35-foot step-back zone, and the space for mature trees is cut from 8 feet to 6 feet. We do not consider these and other cuts as nearly meeting plan objectives to be justified to maintain the bonus density. These are all degradations to the plan that do not support the vision and could not be addressed by a strategic reduction in the footprint. We believe that the current plan does not adequately meet the vision. We believe also the changes could be made for reducing footprint, committing transportation planning, and adhering to the vision that would provide adequate space and policy solutions. And we hope that the commission will take the necessary steps that these requests can be adequately considered and addressed right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last speaker virtually is Mark Koblenz, if you're on the line. Mark Koblenz. Okay, we'll turn to our in-person speakers. Our first speaker is John Musso, followed by Aaron Roberts.
Good evening again, members of the Planning Commission. John Musso, Government Affairs Manager at the Arlington Chamber of Commerce, and on behalf of the Arlington Chamber, I wish to express our support for the project before you, and I urge you all to please recommend adoption by the County Board. Arlington faces a pressing and well-documented need for new housing. And as all of you know, for those of you who are here in 2023, with the adoption of Langston Boulevard area plan, Langston Boulevard is a corridor that has so much potential that we're just trying to realize. And we believe that this project before you both adheres to the county's housing goals while also helping advance the Langston Boulevard corridor into something that realizes the promise of the plan. As mentioned by the applicant, delivering 300 residential units into a prominent site that was already designated as a hub for residential and commercial activity goes so far in terms of realizing the vision that we've had for the corridor. Additionally, as noted, we have 19 on-site committed affordable units, as well as 1.7 million in contribution for affordable housing and meaningful commitment for affordability for the corridor in Arlington overall. Additionally, the 7,000 square foot of ground floor retail will again contribute to the vibrant mixed-use vision of this corridor. And again, the public park plaza hybrid will serve as a meaningful community amenity that complements the existing range of parks and green spaces in that corridor and only serves to continue to add community benefits. So we do believe that this is a proactive and smart project that will go a long way to realizing the county's vision for Langston Boulevard. So we urge you to please adopt it. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Aaron Roberts, followed by Bill Browning.
Okay, this is on. All right, commissioners, thank you all for your time and thank you all for your service. So I'm here to ask you to expand the aperture a little bit. The question before you is not whether to approve or deny this project. The real question is, will you send a message to the county board and to the county manager about how to support and enable future developments like this one along the Langston Boulevard corridor, specifically around transportation safety? This site at this intersection and in the environment around this intersection, people have died and they will continue to die. Now, there's no dispute about whether or not this area is dangerous. None at all. In the last half decade, the question is only whether it's the third most dangerous, the fifth most dangerous, the seventh most dangerous. Now, second point, the way that the Langston Boulevard area plan was pitched to our communities was that it would send a clear signal to investment capital about unlocking new value, and in exchange, the community would receive public goods from private investment. A lot of that is happening. We're seeing wonderful community housing. We're seeing AHIF contributions. We're seeing stormwater management. What is scandalously missing here is a plan for how to make this area safer for pedestrians, for cyclists, and for motorists. I urge you all, please, as you deliberate, consider how we as a community can fix this. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Bill Browning, followed by Jennifer Underiner. No, Mr. Browning? Okay. Jennifer Underiner. All right. Ginger Brown.
Hi, I'm Ginger Brown with the Langston Boulevard Alliance. We worked for many years on the Langston Boulevard area plan, and so we're pleased to be here to discuss the first site plan to be filed under the Langston Boulevard area plan. The plan envisions consolidating the site with the pawn shop, but unfortunately that didn't happen. due to circumstances beyond the control of the owner. But for future proposals, if consolidation happens, we should take the time to look at it through a flexible and fresh lens through the site design and make adjustments as needed. But this project delivers many required community benefits, such as significant stormwater infrastructure, affordable housing, and tree canopy. It also offers appealing architecture and retail opportunities. LBA was pleased with the applicant's willingness to engage with the community while negotiating with staff for almost 2 years. Tonight, we are sure the Planning Commission will do its job and help work through any remaining details and discrepancies that will be raised by the community tonight. But LBA believes this project should move to the county board. However, this project abuts one of the most problematic and accident-prone intersections along Langston Boulevard. Even after a decade spent planning Langston Boulevard, transportation studies for this dangerous intersection are years away and the outcome is uncertain. We believe it is imperative for the county to expedite the transformation of this dangerous intersection into one that is safe for pedestrians and cyclists as envisioned by the Langston Boulevard Area Plan. We ask that the Planning Commission join LBA, the Community Transportation Committee, and use your authority to advise the county board to take quick and decisive action to transform the intersection to a safe and walkable place that was envisioned by the Langston Boulevard Area Plan.
Thank you. Jim Todd is followed by Jacqueline Snelling.
Do I need to turn this on? Good evening, Jim Todd, President of the Cherrydale Citizens Association. My ask here tonight is a simple one, is that you join the Transportation Commission and all the 4 civic associations, as well as the Langston Boulevard Alliance, in asking the county to reprioritize an already committed plan to study transportation improvements along Langston Boulevard. So this one comes first, not last, not after the project is long done, not after hundreds of people live in this building and hundreds of new people come to visit the new retail on this site. The county is, for some reason, put this section last. In addition, we ask that you urge the county board to commit funds to implement those transportation recommendations and not wait additional decades to improve the safety of this stretch. And to be clear, we're not talking just about the Spout Run intersection. We're talking about this entire stretch, both corners, all sides of this building. That includes the I-66 off-ramp, the I-66 on-ramp. The only U-turn to make for cars trying to get to this new building will be all the way up to Kenmore Street, which is another block beyond the I-66 on-ramp. There's terrible accidents at all these sites. I myself was the first responder as a member of the Cherrydale Volunteer Fire Department over 20 years ago to a fatal accident at the off-ramp that split the car in half and killed all occupants in the car. That's one of dozens and dozens and dozens of severe accidents I've witnessed at all 3 intersections, the on-ramp, the off-ramp, and the Spout Run intersection here. All that has to happen is the county has to put its money where its mouth is and actually commit the funds to study and implement the recommendations of that study to transform Langston Boulevard from a speedway for cars to a series of neighborhood connected main streets that serves pedestrians, cyclists, and motorists. We have extra lanes. We don't need them. We have extra space that we can make use to implement these improvements. Thank you very much.
Jacqueline Snelling is followed by Andrew Rood.
Hi, it's great to be here to talk with you, and I really appreciate your listening carefully to these issues that we're saying, because there's much that has changed during this time. Yes, we've been all working very hard together, and we greatly appreciate the very collaborative atmosphere that has been created by the developer and working with the developer. So we have worked together, and I think we've accomplished some great things, but there's more to be done. And that is in part because of the changes that have come at the end that were not expected at the beginning. And yes, this will set a precedent for Langston Boulevard area plan, but particularly for this hub, because some of the problems that we encounter here, transportation, as others have mentioned, but also flood management, will apply to the entire hub. And so as the discussions have proceeded, that's really what it's come down to, is that, yes, our inability to consolidate the site changed the facts. You know, it couldn't be helped, but it changed the facts. And we didn't adequately, I say we, all of us did not adequately anticipate how much ground space storm water management takes. And we need to know it takes a lot more time, a lot more space than we had available. So as a result, by not trying to change the GLUP or not trying to change the number of units, we're cramming things into a space that is too small. And it's not just, and these are things that affect the atmosphere, all those beautiful pictures, but it's crowded. Cut back 10 feet here, cut back 11 feet there, cut back 700 feet in the public space. So is that the end? So those are the things we'd like you to work with us on addressing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Andrew Rude, followed by Claire Jacobson.
Is there a button I press? Oh, no. Hi, I'm Andrew Rue with the Lion Village Civic Association. I hope you got a chance to read the letter that the 4 civic associations sent to you today. Not only are we the ones that are going to be the most impacted for the life of this project, if and when it is approved and developed, but we're also those which are the most familiar with this project, since it is the intersection of our neighborhood. And I think, as Jacqueline addressed, they're trying to cram too much of a project into too limited a space, which results in a myriad of projects, but it fails to address the overriding issue, which it fails to meet the objectives of Plan Langston Boulevard, and actually only of creating safe and viable pedestrian-friendly neighborhood nodes, but actually adds to the danger at that intersection with the project as planned. So I would like you to actually defer this project, recommend to the county board that this project be deferred until the applicants submit a project which complies with the Langston Boulevard plan, and that the transportation studies are done by the county before this plan is reconsidered. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last speaker is Claire Jacobson.
Hi. Well, hopefully you can hear me. Do I have it on? Or- Anyway.
Jim, can you help her, please? Okay.
Thank you. Again, I'm Claire Jacobson. I live in Lion Village. I do support the project. However, I have very, very serious reservations regarding the project. First of all, I believe the footprint is just excessive. It's just way too big, way too large for this size lot. My second concern, or maybe closer to an objection, is the height of this project. We started at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now we're at 13 staggering stories or levels, and that to me is just excessive. Also, the project is very close to a residential area, better known as Lion Village, and I just think it's just way too big, way too dense to be so close to a residential area. So those are my 3 concerns, probably more objections than concerns. And I'm also disappointed that so far the SPRC, now the Planning Commission, CPHD, and the county are not listening to us. They are not we are not reaching negotiations. We are not reaching compromises expressed by the various civic associations. So anyway, hopefully you'll take what I've said into consideration. Thank you.
That's it for our speakers.
Thank you to all of our speakers. I'm going to move on now to, let's see, probably Transportation Commission. Do you have a report?
Yes, this was, as I mentioned, was before the Transportation Commission at its meeting last week, 2 weeks ago. I was not there. I was over the Atlantic Ocean at that point, but I did did draft for them an additional motion. They did vote unanimously to support the 3 staff motions and then add an additional one on their own. And I'll read it here because I'm actually going to be proposing the same thing for us when it's our time. But the Transportation Commission, their additional motion reads as follows. Whereas there are now 4 major site plan residential and mixed use projects proposed on or near Langston Boulevard between Roslyn and I-66, and whereas these projects, when built, will have potentially thousands of new residents who will be driving, using transit, and walking along and across Langston Boulevard, and whereas 3 of the county's Vision Zero hotspot intersections are along this corridor, and whereas the configuration of Langston Boulevard was designed and built in the 1970s primarily to move traffic in and out of DC, and whereas that design is contrary to the goals of the Master Transportation Plan and the Langston Boulevard Area Plan, and whereas funds for transportation improvements may be available from I-66 tolling, whereas the county has scheduled a study of the Langston Boulevard corridor from Roslyn to North Kenmore Street in Cherrydale that includes these 3 intersections, and whereas the study is not scheduled to commence before FY 2028, with capital improvements not scheduled to be included in the capital improvement plan until FY 2030 at the earliest, with actual construction even further out, and whereas there are unallocated funds available to the county from the widening of I-66, so be it resolved that the Transportation Commission recommends that the county board direct the county manager to move up the start of the corridor study to the coming fiscal year with initial preparations to beginning the current fiscal year, and that capital improvements be given first priority in the upcoming capital improvement plan. This was passed unanimously by the Transportation Commission.
Do we have any other commission reports besides me, the chair? I will just say, is this a different motion than what we had?
I think it's similar. It might be 1 or 2 lines that are.
Yeah, I was going to say it's not the same one that I just took flag that now, the one that I gave you that we've shared earlier. Do you have this most recent version?
I can
don't
forward
think
an
so.
email to.
Okay, if you can forward
I
that.
think I had sent it to you already.
I don't know.
No.
No,
I don't
it
think
was
so.
attached to an email
Yeah,
No.
no.
or part of an email.
No, what we got was the older one. Okay, so I did chair this project, and I did send out a report earlier today. For those of you who did not get a chance to read that, I am happy to, I've brought a couple of hard copies, so just, let me know and I'll pass that around. I think the major thing that we heard throughout the SPRC was the concern about transportation. And also kudos. So you are going to hear, well, you've heard that tonight. So that is something that we will be discussing. Also, there was a lot of conversation about the open space and landscaping, repeated conversations about trees. The applicant is meeting the 35% requirement in sort of creative ways. And that is also spelled out in my report. Sustainability is a huge issue because the stormwater, again, the applicant is to be commended because they came up with 5 different scenarios during which I have to believe was a significant investment of time and money. And eventually, which of course added to, the delay that this process went through. But staff has agreed with one of those options and feels that's the best way to go. And I have spelled it out, and staff has spelled it out as well. But we may want to talk about it. You heard the concern about the density versus some of the other things that some of the neighbors believe that they should have there, and, community benefits. Are there any other topics that you would like to discuss this evening? No. Okay. Moving along, first topic we'll do is land use and site design. Comments, questions? No. Okay, all righty. Building form, architecture? No. Wow. Okay. All righty. This is a big one, transportation. Questions, comments? Commissioner Peterson.
Thank you. I am also very concerned about the delays in transportation improvements to this particular intersection. And I know in the staff report, you mentioned a list of all of the studies and projects that are coming up, but if you can just explain more about why those can't be prioritized and what it would take from staff and the county manager and the county board to make this a bigger priority so we can make sure this area is safer.
All right, so for the record, my name is Bryce Johnson with DES. I'm going to caveat my answer with I'm mostly versed on the site plan process. So I probably can't give as much information as you would like, but I can give as much context as I can. So as you mentioned, the staff report does allude to other ongoing and planned studies. One of the issues, or I shouldn't say issue, but one of the complications with the request to expedite the Area 5 study is that there's already the other study in progress today. The Langston Boulevard area plan recommended a variety of transportation improvements needing additional study. The county broke that up into two chunks. The first chunk is the multimodal intersections study for areas 2 and 3. That actually covers a wider portion of Langston Boulevard than the next phase or chunk, which would be for the Area 5. The Area 5 study is the one that would affect this site, Area 5 beginning at the 66 off-ramp. The areas 2 and 3 study was started last year, about this time in spring, and is anticipated to wrap up at the end of this year, fall or winter. So the phased approach allows some work to be kind of done first. We get some progress, we get some momentum for what we expect to see with Langston Boulevard. And then once that's done, we can complete or begin the Area 5 study and then complete that. But again, that's expected to begin either at the end of this year or early next year, once that areas 2 and 3 study is done. I also want to note that we also have a Langston Boulevard Strategically Targeted Affordable Roadway Solutions, or STARS study that VDOT is doing currently at the request by the county. And that is within Area 5. It's not all of Area 5. It's just from North Pike Street to North Lynn Street, but that is currently being done. And there is some benefit to letting that finish before we have the wider Area 5 study. So again, I can't speak to all of the considerations, but that's just some of the overlapping pieces that are moving forward today.
So does it have to be phased where you do 2 and 3 before you do 5, or is it just staff resources? You can't do them at the same time. And if you had more staff, or if transportation had more staff, could it be done faster?
I can't speak to the full rationale behind it, but I would imagine that it would definitely complicate the staff allocation for that.
Would consultants help if you had?
I can't speak for the full breadth of what it went into it.
Okay, and there's nobody here from transportation that could answer these questions.
It would just me from DES. I want to say unfortunately, but again, that's generally outside of the scope of the site plan reviews.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Striner?
Yeah, so building off what Commissioner Peterson said, it just kind of makes me think that some of these studies should have been started before we adopted the Langston Boulevard area plan. I just think because we knew that was where this was going, and now we're sort of behind on getting these studies and the results and the actual improvements. So that's just a comment. And then my question would be, does the county have funds or a program available for sort of like quick build? I know when I was working across the river, we had quick build projects that while not permanent solutions, could be sort of a bridge that could help temporarily improve the pedestrian safety at some sites until you could get these larger studies and projects done. Is there anything like that that's available in the budget right now?
Yeah, so we already have budget for Vision Zero. That's been going towards quick build projects across the county.
Okay.
There was actually one on Spout Run north of the site completed, I think it was last year. Because again, as the others have noted, we've been watching Langston Boulevard as well as the rest of the county. So that's one avenue. The capital improvement plan also has a budget. I think it's 20 million already budgeted for recommendations from these two studies. Obviously, we anticipate more will be required, but that's already been set aside.
Did you say 20 million?
20 million.
Okay.
So again, as those studies wrap up and we get those recommendations, we do have some initial funding to move forward. And then it's also, I do want to note that there's already been some improvements to the Spout Run Langston Boulevard intersection, not as substantial as I think what people would like to see pending the results of the Area 5 study, but we have been putting in new signal equipment, new curb ramps, and that's wrapping up probably the end of this month, if not early next month. And that's something that's actually been in progress for over 10 years now, just as we've been, again, having to engage with a variety of stakeholders at VDOT. So to answer your question, there is funding, yes.
Can I do a follow-up? So the Vision Zero plan, is there sort of, within that program, is there sort of like a spend plan that's kind of broken out on what projects are getting funding for the Vision Zero projects already? Or is that sort of a little more in flux at the moment? And if so, could this be moved up to the top?
A little
of the
bit in
list?
flux. So like we'll hear back from like community input about ideas or locations that improvements are warranted, but we do take a specific look at corridors, and that's where there's a more strategic approach. So for this one, I think it was a quick build for rapid flashing beacons on Spout Run for pedestrian crossing. But again, we do also like the not wider, but like the more in-depth targeted approach where we look at specific corridors and phases. But there's also, again, there's the larger Vision Zero action plan. And I think it's each year, every other year, we identify the hotspots throughout the county that need to be looked at.
Yeah, I would just recommend that this be sort of moved up. I know there are a lot of, priorities. Everyone on that list is a big deal, but this one, given the potential site plan coming here, I think it's important. So that's all I'll say.
Commissioner Lynn, tell me.
Yeah, I'm going to pile on here. This is something I've been working on Langston Boulevard when it was still Lee Highway. It's been 10, 12, 13 years. And you've heard from the neighborhoods here, all the way through the plan to creation. These streets, this street, and its hostility to pedestrians and its users was highlighted by every single neighborhood up and down the corridor. So this is not a surprise this is coming up. We also knew that there were a lot of projects that were good, that were just waiting for Plan Langston Boulevard to be implemented, and it's coming true. We have a number of them that are popping up, and right now, what you're hearing tonight, you're also going to be hearing for the Marriott site. You're going to be hearing it for the Air Force site, and you're going to be hearing it for Potomac Towers when that emerges, because it's the same issues for every single one of these projects. Is that Langston Boulevard is just hostile to its residents of all of these projects. We've known this is coming. We need to do it. And as Commissioner Striner said, we can move some things up. This will probably have to be a contractor because this is a major, major project. And I support that. I think that's exactly the way we should go on this. It'll be able to move faster there, and it conserves, the resources for DES. But that doesn't mean we have to wait. We can start the initial scoping out of what do we want this study to do? What's going to be the scope of it? What sort of budget are we going to be allocating to it? That's stuff that could probably be done right now, starting now, and then start moving it up into the coming for the 2027 fiscal year. We can actually let the contract and start working on it then. We don't have to wait for the other part of Langston Boulevard to be completed, that study, for this one to start going. We could start doing that work now, and that's what I'm going to be, in our resolution, it'll be similar to transportation, where we really just start working on this now. And again, this is something that's been unanimous for every one of the neighborhoods up and down this corridor. You will get support from every neighborhood that this has to be done. And as Commissioner Striner said, we're late. We are late on this. I don't know what more to say other than I will be introducing the motion and continue to raise this, and you will be hearing it at every single other site plan that comes up along the same corridor. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments about transportation? Commissioner Garcia?
Yeah, I was just curious. Well, so I do also align myself with Commissioner Lantelmi's comments, and I would also just add that, in one of the letters we received, there was discussion of kind of how the current site plan didn't necessarily meet the goals for the Langston Boulevard corridor that are in the Langston Boulevard plan. And I think just to add on to what you were saying, Commissioner Lantelmi, it's very hard to do that if you don't have that larger transportation plan to make that a reality. And so I think that that's worth noting as well. I did have a question about the pickup drop-off. I see that it's in kind of the one section on Kirkwood. Can you explain a little bit more about what changed in the process most recently, and how you kind of determined if that was going to be sufficient for the development? So I don't know if that would be a question for staff or that.
And I'll defer to the applicant to speak to the changes they've gone through, but I can, after they've done that, I'll tackle the staff's position on whether it's sufficient.
Yeah, we can speak to that. So we lost 2 pickup drop-off spots. We made that change that I mentioned regarding the stormwater overland relief. When we had to move the building around, we also needed to have sufficient space for trees to meet the tree canopy requirements. So like all site plans, we were balancing different priorities, and the tree canopy and overland relief ultimately won out over pickup drop-off, at least with respect to the 2 spaces.
And so just to clarify, there's just the 2 that are now on the, I guess, near that park, the little park.
Correct. And that's also where the most residents will enter and exit the building on that side.
I think it's worth mentioning also that our garage off of Kirkwood will not have any barriers to entry. So you will be able to free flow through into that garage without any sort of mechanism for stopping. There's no gate. All security for the residents will be handled internally through the ramping, but all of the retail has 30+ spots, and folks will be guided into the garage as well. Additionally, we also have substantial street parking along Kirkwood, which I think is, important to note as well.
Thank you.
Did you want to make a comment, Mr.
I was just going to follow up. Did you want to hear from staff about if we think it's sufficient?
No, I think
Okay.
that's a good answer. Thank you.
Commissioner Patel?
I just want to make one note. While I appreciate the conversation about transportation, I think all of us use Langston Boulevard in some way, and some of us probably all of our lives, like me. But one thing I don't want to miss in this conversation, and how we frame this conversation, is recognition around different areas that are being developed, and where we are pushing on transportation studies and not necessarily pushing on those same studies in spaces and places in this community that are smaller and face very different structural challenges than this particular intersection. And the 2 intersections that, the 66 and Spout Run. So, I will just say 2 words: Hotel Pentagon, right? And so we want to be very careful when we're talking about transportation at this particular site, when some of those similar discussions were not being had for that one. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else on transportation? Okay. I do want to circle back on one thing that I may have left off by title: density. Any questions, comments about density? Okay. Yes. Commissioner Striner.
I have one
Commissioner
comment.
Lantelmi.
This is staff, I think that Matt, I think the visualization of the community benefits with the sort of math equation was really helpful. And I think that visual, at least for me, it would be helpful in future presentations as you're seeing exactly what we're getting for each component that the developer is, giving to the project. We're getting X number of units in exchange for stormwater. We're getting X number of units for affordable housing. So I thought that was just really helpful.
Yeah, thanks for that feedback. I'll have to give the hat tip to our own Kevin Lamb, who kind of came up with that exhibit that we've all been adapting for site plans coming forward.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah.
Commissioner Ely, tell me you wanted to make a comment?
Yes.
He's being technically challenged
I
right
have a
now.
density question, Mr. Piper. Everyone from the applicant to the neighborhood to you, all of us were disappointed that the pawn shop is staying. When we were planning the Langston Boulevard area plan, we all thought that this would consolidate. And up until the last second, the applicant thought that was going to happen too, until the option was exercised. So we're all disappointed on that. That leaves that essentially as an orphan site. As a practical matter, can that site even be redeveloped? I mean, you can't put a 13-story building on it. I think that's pretty clear. Can you do much of it other than another 1 or 2-story building because of stormwater, because of parking issues, because of the need to widen the sidewalks, tree cover, all of those requirements, other than a by right C1 type of building that would be 1 or 2 stories high? Can you do anything there? I mean, there's no density left, really. Am I wrong, or how do you respond?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be difficult to evaluate a hypothetical, and we haven't done that analysis. The site would be subject to the same framework that this site is subject to, in that they could request to amend the GLUP and rezone to CO 2.5 and develop under that. As to whether there are geometric or physical constraints to doing that, I can't speak to that. It would be a pretty small site to do that. Otherwise, as you mentioned, probably the other avenue would be to redevelop by right.
Then let me check with the applicant's attorney. Since you're not constrained as the county is, is that site, as a practical matter, developable into anything more than really what's there?
I don't think I should speak to that, since obviously, I don't
You're not giving
represent the owner of the site. So I don't think I can really speak to what its developable potential is. We hoped to include it in this project, but that obviously was not an option.
Because my evaluation is it'd be really tough. Looking at our zoning ordinance, and even if they requested rezonings, there's not a lot you can do with this, under the constraints of the site, which I listed. So as a practical matter, the density that we have in this site, if we approve this project, is the density for that entire parcel there, the two of them together. It's not going to be anything more. So I'm not personally that concerned about the density here. With the lack of consolidation, I think this is what it's going to be. If it had been consolidated, I don't think it would be really that much different than what we're getting here now, except we have, unfortunately, an ugly building left rather than, one big, nice building. So anyway, I think that the density here is appropriate for the site under Plan Langston, under what we wanted to do in Plan Langston Boulevard. That even without the pawn shop site, this is still what we would have gotten anyway. So thank you.
Any other comments on density? Okay, the next topic then would be green building and sustainability. Any comments on that would include stormwater? Go ahead, Commissioner Robertson, then Commissioner Peters.
I'm a big fan of what the proponent has done by way of trying to deal with stormwater issues. And I yield to no one in my appreciation for the risk assessment and management plan that the county uses. I don't want to delay us unduly because Yukon is ahead by only 1 point at this point, Madam Chair. But I will also note that I think what we're doing collectively, the county and the project proponent on stormwater is not enough. And when we have opportunities like this to develop a new building in an area that is central to the problems that we faced in 2019 and will continue to face because we were failing miserably to deal with climate change, we ought to do it. They're doing a lot. Subsurface stormwater vaults and the greenway and the moving the setbacks, et cetera, doing a lot of good stuff. And I recognize that I am Cassandra, doomed to offer these warnings and to be ignored about them. But I just want to register my concern that we need to do more. We need to take advantage of these opportunities. It's a great project in many ways, but I'm significantly concerned about this.
Yes, and you sort of are resident stormwater expert, so we appreciate your comments. Commissioner Peterson.
I just wanted to say that I really appreciate meeting the tree canopy goals in this project. I'm loving all of the greenery and trees all over the site and on the building itself. And I really appreciate the green walls on Kirkwood. So this is a beautiful biophilic building. So I appreciate that aspect of it. Thank you.
Any other comments there? Commissioner Amadeo.
I just want to quickly associate myself with the comments that Commissioner Robertson made, because that area, I have had a few projects there that were completely flooded. And I think I definitely appreciate any attention paid to that. But I also would like to press upon the county to get this transportation study done together, because stormwater transport, I mean, all of these things, if you do them separately, then the construction of doing one, and then you're just, you're removing dirt on one side, putting it in another. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. So they should be done concurrently, and it just makes sense from a construction standpoint.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to the next thing. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
And then one more biophilia adjacent comment. I really appreciate the lighting that has been added to the walkways to make sure that people feel safe at night. That's all I want to say. I just thought that was mentioned in the SPRC, and I really appreciate that inclusion there.
Yes.
It's said loggia.
Loggia.
Yes. Sorry, I'm the Italian in the crowd.
That's kind of cool. All right, open space and landscaping. I just have one question. Dr. Byrne asked about native perennials, including common milkweed. Will that be incorporated somewhere in the site? Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. Moving along to community benefits. Yes. Go ahead.
Okay, here we go. Affordable housing. I think that I'm not going to say I think, we constantly push on affordable housing, and we do not have any levers to make you do more. But yet consistently we want more. And so this particular site, we're looking at 6% of the units being committed affordable, and that just simply is not enough to meet the needs. So I wish that there would have been more affordable housing. I wish it would have been at more variable rates. And I think that if there was anything that this commission could have done to require that, we would have done it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments on, oh yes, Commissioner.
Well, what are the sizes? I mean, all the units, what do we have? Do we have variety? Is it all 1 or 2 bedrooms?
1 bedroom and 3 2-bedroom. The 3 1-bedroom and 3 2-bedroom are at 80, and the 7 1-bedroom and the 6 2-bedroom are at 60. Correct? Yeah.
Point taken.
Okay, any other comments, discussion? Are we ready for motions? All right, I will read them. Okay, let's see. The first motion is I move the Planning Commission recommend the county board adopts the attached resolution, attachment number 1, to approve the general land use plan amendment, GLPA 24-0004, to change the designation of the property from service commercial and public to medium office apartment hotel located at 3130 Langston Boulevard, RPC number 15-012-041. Who seconded? Okay. Commissioner Patel seconded. Are there any questions? I'm not going to speak to my motion, but any questions, comments? No? Okay, let's move to a vote then. Commissioner Amadeo.
Aye.
Commissioner Garcia.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
I recuse.
Huh?
I recuse.
Recuse. Okay, I'm sorry. All right. All right. Commissioner Lantelmi.
Aye.
Commissioner Patel.
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson.
Aye.
Commissioner Robertson.
Aye.
Commissioner Steinberger.
Aye.
Commissioner Striner.
Aye.
And I'm voting aye, so that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 ayes, correct? And 1 recuse. Does that jive? Okay, great, thank you. All righty, second motion. I move the Planning Commission recommend the county board adopt the attached ordinance, attachment number 2, to rezone REZN 24-0004, the property from C2 Service Commercial Community Business District to C-0-2.5 Mixed Use District located at 3130 Langston Boulevard, RPC number 15-012-041.
Second.
Okay, who seconded? Thank you, Commissioner Patel. All right, I'm not going to speak to my motion. Any questions on this one? All right. All right, let's go to the vote. Commissioner Amadeo.
Aye.
Commissioner Garcia.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Recuse.
Never mind. Okay, yeah, recuse. Commissioner Lantelmi.
Aye.
Commissioner Patel.
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson.
Aye.
Commissioner Robertson.
Aye.
Commissioner Steinberger.
Aye.
Commissioner Striner.
Aye.
And Commissioner Bagley, I vote aye. So again, that should be 9 ayes and 1 recuse, correct? Thank you. I love it when it matches. Okay. All right. And the final motion from the county manager, this would be, I move the Planning Commission recommend the county board adopts the attached ordinance, attachment number 3, to approve a new site plan SPLN 2400004 to permit the construction of a 13-story building with up to 300 residential units and 7,228 square feet of ground floor retail gross floor area with modifications of Arlington County zoning ordinance standards for additional density exclusions, loading spaces, coverage and placement, and other modifications necessary to achieve the proposed development located at 3130 Langston Boulevard, RPC number 15-012-041. Second. Also Commissioner Patel. Thank you. I'm not going to speak to this. I know that some residents are a little disappointed because of the density. I think we've kind of discussed that. Many of us are kind of excited about seeing something like this in the area. So I guess we are ready for a vote. Commissioner Amadeo.
Aye.
Commissioner Garcia.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson recused.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Lantelmi.
Aye.
Commissioner Patel.
Aye.
Commissioner Peterson.
Aye.
Commissioner Robertson.
Aye.
Commissioner Steinberger.
Aye.
Commissioner Striner.
Aye.
Commissioner Bagley, I vote aye, so that is 9 with, thank you. All right. Commissioner Lantelmi, can you read your motion and
Yes.
Madam Clerk, can you put that on the screen for us since it's rather lengthy? So that everybody can understand it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's not the top one, it's the lower one. There's two on to it, yeah,
This one on the bottom?
right.
Scroll down.
Right, that's it. Settle there. I'll read it. We might be missing a little bit here.
There's some.
Yeah, I
some
think there's
things
still
missing
some
here.
things missing here. But let me read it so that I get that way. Whereas there are now 4 major site plan residential.
Clauses are not essential to your motion, right? I mean, they're giving us findings.
That's right.
So you want us to incorporate the findings as
Yes.
well?
Yes.
Just part of like comments.
Hmm?
Could they just be part of like the comments in the report?
We could do that, but I think it sort of gives the context to why we think this is important.
Yeah, but we don't have the information that Transportation Commission had to make those findings. So you're asking us to base our findings off another commission's findings, which I would not do.
Okay. Then we could go straight to the motion and not have any of the whereas clauses. Okay.
Okay.
I move that the Planning Commission recommend that the county board direct the county manager to begin preparations this fiscal year for its study of Lancaster Boulevard from Roslyn to I-66 to reconfigure it as a complete street consistent with the goals of the Master Transportation Plan and Lancaster Boulevard Area Plan and commence the study in fiscal year 2027.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, this was it Commissioner Streiner or Commissioner Patel?
I think I beat her to the punch, but.
Pick one.
It was me.
It was. Yeah, okay, very good. All right. I think that we probably had enough discussion on this, correct?
I
Oh, wait a
actually
minute.
have a question because
Sure.
there are like a list of studies that are already like in the works, planned, documented. Can we pull that up again, please? Madam Clerk? Can we pull up the motion again? I'm just wondering if we are saying study from Roslyn to I-66 on-ramp, is that like proposing a new study that then they'll have to like do all of the preparatory work versus just saying like, get to the studies that we've already planned, like do those faster?
My understanding, there is one that is already planned for that corridor.
Yeah, that's the Area 5 study.
Okay, so this is the Area 5 study. So maybe say like begin preparations for the Area 5 study. Or maybe that's not necessary.
Sure, we could make that change.
Yeah, but we
'cause,
have it up. We have a.
When
hold on a
what I
second.
did,
Yeah, but we
for
already.
its study, I already did say its study. It's not the language here. Don't look at that language.
Okay.
No, but Chair Bagley is saying we have a motion that's already been seconded.
Yes.
So that motion has to be voted on.
Yes. So do you want to
Yeah, I am, okay. Again, I move that the Planning Commission recommend that the county board direct the county manager to begin preparations this fiscal year for its study of Lancaster Boulevard from Roslyn to I-66 to reconfigure it as a complete street consistent with the goals of the Master Transportation Plan and Lancaster Boulevard Area Plan and commence the study in fiscal year 2027. I will note that in the whereas clauses, which we're not using, I did note that there was a study is scheduled, but it wasn't supposed to commence until before fiscal year 2028, which pushes things out. And that's fact. That's something I think we can acknowledge. And that construction wouldn't have started until at least 2030 in the capital plan. And just editorially, by the time construction gets done, we're talking about Columbia Pike, which took like 20 years. I don't want this to be happening not complete until like 2040 or 2045. So we really need to start now. Anyway, so that's the motion.
do we have a second?
We did. Just reread the.
So we just,
Yeah.
okay, so we did not change it. Okay.
We did not
fine.
change
And
anything.
so you're okay. Okay, very good. All right. So are we okay to move to a vote now? Okay. Commissioner Amadeo,
Aye.
Commissioner Garcia,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
Okay. Commissioner Lantelmi,
Aye.
Commissioner Patel,
Abstain.
abstain. All right. Commissioner Peterson,
Aye.
Commissioner Robertson,
Aye.
Commissioner Steinberger,
Aye.
Commissioner Streiner,
Aye.
And me, I will say aye. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 ayes and 1 abstain, correct? All righty.
Chair Bagley, may I just say to Mr. Piper that I don't actually oppose this motion. I just, as a process issue, I don't feel comfortable directing timing on projects. So especially when they're already in the pipeline.
Gotcha. Okay, so I again want to thank staff for a tremendous amount of work on this, bending over backwards, working on this for, gosh, like 18 months at least that we saw, and then all the prep work before that. And I also want to thank the neighbors who stayed engaged on this. You have more opportunities as this goes to the county board with Commissioner Lantelmi as our representative on the 18th of April. And I do want to commend, me personally, when I see certain applicants come in, I'm like, oy. But I did not feel that way. You guys have been great to work with. I also want to commend you for offering your building for the arts types of activities and stuff as it's sitting there vacant, which is great. I actually went to that. I enjoyed it very much, but you've been really great to work with, and I appreciate the level of engagement and also showing a sincere desire to get this right. This is another illustration of what happens in a site plan, an SPRC process, which some people think, at the end of the day, this project turned out better because of all the input than it would have if it just was the way it was. And I think most of us agree with that. And that happened despite that not everybody got what they wanted, at least up until this point, from it. But it speaks to the process. And again, thank you all very much for being involved. With that, we will be adjourning. I'm sorry? Oh, sorry. Yeah, we will be recessing to tomorrow night. That meeting will start at 7:30. We will be discussing Waverly Ridge. I sent that report out today. Please note the county manager has recommended denial on that. So if you have questions or whatever, reach out to me so that we can have a fruitful and expeditious conversation tomorrow night. We'll also do PC business at that point. So thank you, everybody. Have a great night.